It's 2 a.m. at a truck stop in the middle of nowhere. Reefers cycling, air brakes hissing, 100 engines idling at once. And in the middle of all that noise, a driver is sound asleep, while 300 miles away, his wife is lying in a quiet, comfortable bedroom, wide awake, staring at the ceiling. You'd think that makes no sense. A real bed beats a bunk. Silence beats a truck stop. Central air beats an APU running off a battery bank. That's the obvious answer, but it's incomplete. A peer-reviewed sleep study on long-haul drivers actually backs up what you'd expect. On paper, drivers get more total sleep at home, but ask enough over-the-road drivers, and you'll hear the same claim again and again. They rest better in the cab. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why that's not bravado. It's math, it's biology, and it's something almost nobody outside the cab ever thinks about. Let's start with the science, because it's more surprising than it looks. A 2011 study out of Australia tracked 37 truck drivers for 21 straight days, comparing sleep at home to sleep in the cab using activity monitors and sleep diaries, not just gut feeling. The result was statistically clear. Drivers slept longer and rated their sleep as higher quality at home, not a close call. So if the raw numbers favor the bedroom, why do so many veteran drivers swear by the sleeper berth instead? And why does the trucking industry still report that around 2/3 of drivers admit to driving drowsy at some point in their career? Because raw hours in bed were never the whole story. Start with control. At home, a driver doesn't own the thermostat, the mattress, or the blackout curtains outright. A whole household negotiates all three. In the cab, he does. Truckers spend real money customizing that space. Memory foam toppers, insulated curtains, sometimes a dedicated fan or heater running off the APU instead of the main engine. Idling that main engine overnight for climate control burns roughly half a gallon of diesel an hour, so call it $25 a night. Real money, but still far cheaper than a $100 hotel room, and immeasurably cheaper than fighting over the thermostat with somebody else at 11 at night. Compare that to a hotel room. A company might comp him for the night. Unfamiliar mattress, unfamiliar noise from the hallway, air conditioning set by whoever stayed there last, and a wake-up call that isn't his own alarm. The cab, even parked in a lot he's never seen before, is the one variable that never changes from city to city. One truck stop, one driver, total control over every variable in the room. Then there's the noise nobody expects to help. In 2021, researchers at Weill Cornell Medicine ran a controlled study on New Yorkers who couldn't sleep through city noise. They played steady white noise through the night and measured actual sleep data with wrist monitors, not just how people said they felt the next morning. The result? Time spent awake after falling asleep dropped. People fell asleep faster, and the improvement held up even after the white noise machine was removed. A running engine, a fan, the low drone of a reefer unit 2 rows over. That's not so different from the exact sound clinical sleep researchers use on purpose to help people sleep. The thing that sounds like it should keep a driver up all night is quietly doing the opposite. The engine isn't the enemy here, it's the lullaby. There's a legal detail hiding in this too. Federal Hours of Service rules force drivers to log a set block of off-duty or sleeper berth time before they're allowed back behind the wheel. Most people hear regulation and think restriction. Drivers who've been at it long enough will tell you it's actually the opposite. The government accidentally built them a bedtime. No amount of willpower gets a night owl at home to shut the laptop at a sane hour. A logbook does it automatically, every single day, whether the driver feels like it or not. A law wrote the routine the body actually needed. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable. Another study followed 81 truck drivers using an actual clinical sleep index, not a survey question, and found that 71% of them rated their own sleep as poor. And yet, given a choice between a sleeper berth and a company dorm, over half still picked the truck. That's the paradox sitting in one number: objectively poor sleep, and still the preferred option, night after night. Because the real question drivers are answering is never, which mattress feels softer? It's which version of my life feels more manageable right now. At home, a driver isn't just trying to fall asleep. He's catching up on everything sleep has to compete with. The kids, the errands stacked up over 3 weeks gone, a spouse who's been solo parenting and has her own list waiting for him the second he walks in. The bedroom is quiet, sure, but the house doesn't stop making demands just because the lights are off. In the cab, once the truck is parked and the logbook says off duty, the job shrinks down to exactly one task: sleep. There's nothing waiting on the other side of that curtain. That's the layer no sleep study ever measures. Picture it. It's 3 a.m. at a truck stop somewhere in Ohio. An air brake blasts 2 spots over and jolts you half awake. You don't reach for your phone. You don't start running tomorrow's to-do list. You pull the curtain a little tighter and you're back under in 90 seconds. Because there is genuinely nothing on the other side of consciousness demanding anything from you. Now picture that exact same jolt at 3 a.m. at home. A kid coughs down the hall. The dog wants out. Your phone lights up on the nightstand with a message that could easily wait until morning, but somehow never does. Now you're up. Now you're thinking. Now sleep has to compete with an entire household that never actually clocked off duty in the first place. And there's no curtain to pull tighter against any of it. And that's how the cab quietly stops being a compromise and starts being the routine the body actually trusts. Consistency, it turns out, matters more to sleep than comfort does. A driver who goes to bed at the same hour, in the same 80 square feet, with the same engine hum and the same total darkness behind the curtain, is training his body to expect rest on cue, even when that cue lands at 2 in the afternoon after a night run. Home, with its shifting schedule of family life, rarely offers that same rhythm. The truck offers it every single night, whether it's parked in Nebraska or Tennessee. There's one more piece almost nobody outside a cab knows about. Studies on commercial drivers put the rate of obstructive sleep apnea somewhere between roughly 1/4 and half of the workforce, which is far above the general population. A lot of drivers carrying that condition never got tested until a company physical caught it. And once they start using a CPAP machine at night, sleep quality changes completely, but only if they actually use it consistently, which is exactly what a fixed cab routine makes easier than a chaotic home schedule ever could. Same body, same disorder, wildly different outcome, depending on which routine it's plugged into. A driver's biggest sleep threat usually isn't the mattress, the noise, or even the schedule. Half the time, it's whatever showed up on a sleep study years ago and never got properly treated. The kind of thing that follows a person home just as easily as it follows them onto the road. Here's the part almost nobody talks about. Plenty of drivers report the exact opposite problem on their days off. After weeks of that same tight, dark, engine hum routine, the actual bedroom at home, too quiet, too much open space, no hum, a mattress that doesn't move under you the way a cab does on its suspension, can feel wrong for the first night or two. Partners report it too. The first night home isn't always the deep, relieved sleep people picture in movies. Sometimes it's the driver lying there wide awake at 4 a.m., wondering why a perfectly good bed suddenly feels unfamiliar. The body has to relearn a room it technically knows better than any truck stop it's ever parked in, which tells you the "sleep better in the cab" claim was never really about the cab itself. It's about whichever environment the body has spent the last 3 weeks being trained to trust. And right now, for a lot of drivers, that's 80 square feet on wheels, not the guest room they technically own. Which is exactly why so many veteran drivers stop calling it a bunk and start calling it their bedroom, their kitchen, their whole address for 3 weeks at a time. Not because it beats home on paper. The data says it doesn't. Because it's theirs, on their terms, every single night, with nothing left to negotiate over. There's no thermostat war, no borrowed side of the bed, no one else's schedule to work around. It's a smaller life than the one waiting at home, but inside that smaller life, everything is finally under one person's control. And after enough years logging miles, that starts to feel like the realest home a driver's got, even if the mailing address says otherwise. So the next time somebody tells you truckers must hate sleeping in a truck, remember the numbers. The science says the bedroom wins on paper. The drivers say the cab wins where it actually counts. Both of those are true at the same time, and now you know exactly why. If you're a driver, does that 3 a.m. curtain and back to sleep feeling sound familiar? Or is your own story completely different once you're finally home? And if you've never spent a single night in a sleeper cab, would you actually trade a quiet bedroom for that kind of control over your own small space?